Chapter 10, the Deed of Trust. The deed of trust is not like a mortgage, it is a mortgage. Is the deed of trust used to secure a mortgage? No, because the deed of trust is a mortgage. The deed of trust is a document that conveys legal title to a neutral third party as security for a debt. The main difference between a deed of trust and a regular mortgage that we covered in Chapter 9, it has to do with the number of parties. With a mortgage, we have two parties, a borrower and a lender. With a deed of trust, we have three parties. So when a promissory note is secured by a deed of trust, three parties are involved. The borrower is known as the trustor. That is the one who creates the trust. The lender is the beneficiary, the one whose benefit a trust is created. This party provides the money for the debt, and payments are made directly to the beneficiary. The neutral third party is the trustee. The trustee holds the property in trust for another. They hold title to the real estate in this situation. The trustee can be automatic, where the trustee is not notified but named in the deed of trust, or the accepted form of trustee, where the trustee is. The trustee receives title to the property, as mentioned earlier, but they receive what's called naked title, a title that the borrower grants to the trustee, a title that lacks the rights and privileges usually associated with ownership. This is also known as bare title. There is also a reconveyance or release deed. This is what's used once the debt has been fully paid. So it's a document that's used to reconvey title from the trustee back to the borrower or the property owner once the debt has been paid. The deed of trust provides security for the promissory note and mortgage. In other words, although this deed grants and conveys title to the trustee, it is understood that the quantity of title the trustee receives is only that which is necessary to protect the note. So it permits the borrower to continue to possess, enjoy the use of the property as long as the promissory note is not in default. Here is a graph of the differences between a regular mortgage, and we have two parties, and the deed of trust, where we have three. And in terms of the reconveyance, this is an example of the request for full reconveyance. There are a number of states that the use of the deed of trust is legal, and we have the list here, and it's used to a certain extent in a few others. Note that the state of Louisiana is not included in the use of the deed of trust, so it is not recognized in the state of Louisiana. What's the advantages, or really what's the purpose of the deed of trust versus the use of a mortgage and the promissory note? Well, there are certain advantages with the deed of trust. First of all, if the borrower defaults and the property is an income-producing property, the lender can then take possession of the property and continue to collect the rents from the tenants. The time between default and foreclosure is relatively short because there's a power of sale provision in the deed of trust. So the foreclosure process is far less expensive and complex versus one that is court ordered or related to a judicial foreclosure. So in other words, with a deed of trust, if there is a foreclosure, if there's a deficiency and a related foreclosure, a judicial foreclosure is not necessary. And they're usually not. However, the trustee can request the judicial foreclosure. The title is already in the name of the trustee, so the trustee is then able to grant title to a purchaser for the property should the loan go into default. And once the foreclosure sale takes place, there's usually no statutory redemption. Another advantage to the lenders is that the deed of trust usually makes more money available for lending. And here is another graph which compares the mortgage, the deed of trust, and the land contract. Our key terms for Chapter 10, relatively short chapter. Any questions? Let me know.